Coming up, the Crawford County Jail upgrades its security system with 40 new cameras.
One more morning below the freezing point, but now we've got to get ready for a little Christmas warmth on our way. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, the Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas makes COVID testing fast and easy, just in time for the holidays.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, let's go to Michael Hayslip in the Skywatch Weather Center.
First full day of winter. I mean, what else would we talk about? Elevated fire concerns? Because it's going to be dry and warm. This is absolutely crazy. 16 days so far through the month of December. We've had above average temperatures. We're going to make that about 23, 24 days here by the time we get to around Christmas. Joplin sits at 29 degrees. Now, all kidding aside, it is another windshield scraper of a morning, but this will really be the last day that we talk about temperatures that are consistently below the freezing mark. We do range anywhere from about 23 to 32 degrees. Monette and Cassville hanging in there right at the freezing point. It is going to be a little bit blustery today. The shift is already underway, now moving in from the northeast and eventually making its way around the dial and working in from the south-southwest by the time the day is all said and done. Skywatch Storm Tracker, once again, clean and clear as can be. So we're the recipients of more great weather. I think everybody is going to be very happy too, for those of you that join us early in the morning. Number one, we greatly appreciate it. Number two, those overnight lows when we begin to wake up each and every morning, incrementally rising not only our daytime temps, but look at those overnight ones, 41, 55, and 62. We will take that. Don't lose the scraper. We'll need it eventually when January rolls around. Probably not going to need it the rest of 2021.
Probably not. Hey, I'm not going to complain about that one bit.
Me neither.
No, it's nice to not have to do that. I did preheat my car this morning. I can do that because it has a remote start and it stays locked. You want to be careful if your car doesn't lock.
Hashtag first world problems.
Yes. No, the hashtag first world problems is my seat warmers.
Go on.
Work fine on the passenger side. The driver's side just stopped working last week.
You should have asked Santa.
Well, might be a little late.
That's a good point. He's got other priorities right now.
He's focused on the kids right
yes.
now. Maybe next year. We'll see.
Oh, no, because next year will be better. They always tell us, right?
Right. Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
I was getting spoiled with that, though. I'm not going to lie. Hashtag first world problems.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Michael. Well, the Crawford County Jail has added some new eyes. Officials have added cameras to the facility. The cameras are operated and positioned in such a way to prevent blind spots, helping to ensure security for inmates and jail staff. The cameras also allow jailers to spot potential mechanical issues before they become worse.
It's just one of those things that it keeps the staff safe. It keeps the inmates safe. We've had a couple of things where a couple of our staff members have been assaulted, and a couple of times those have happened in kind of blind spots. We've also had things happen in the cells where inmates may have been attacked, or there may be some other thing going on that they're not supposed to be doing.
The jail added around 40 cameras. 14 months after the first sale of medical marijuana in Missouri, the state has reached a milestone. The Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services reports dispensaries in the state have sold $200 million in product. Missouri has more than 158,000 qualified medical marijuana patients and 3,200 caregivers. With Christmas and other holidays approaching, a lot of people are expected to travel in the next few weeks. But the Omicron variant of COVID-19 is raising concern for health officials and locals in Southeast Kansas. To ensure residents are safe for their holiday visits, Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas on Tuesday handed out at-home tests in Pittsburgh.
We have two different kinds. One kind which does not require a smartphone. It's a 2-test kit that you can test yourself 24 to 36 hours apart. The second one that does require a smartphone, those were provided to us through KU. We're working with them on a grant, and that does require an app to be downloaded.
Results for both tests can be expected in as little as 15 minutes. A Black History mural on a college campus in St. Louis, Missouri was defaced over the weekend. According to Washington University officials, the mural normally displays the faces of prominent Black figures. The walkway where it's located connects the main buildings of the Danforth campus to most student housing. Sometime on Saturday, the mural was covered with the logo and symbols of known white supremacist group. The letter from university officials said students informed them about the vandalism. The leaders hope that surveillance video will help identify the vandals. Washington University Police Department is investigating. The search is on to replace outgoing Pitt State President Steve Scott. He announced earlier this year he was stepping down from the position in June of 2022 after 13 years on the job. The university announced it's accepting application for Scott's replacement. They described the university's next leader as an entrepreneurial, enterprising, empowering presence. Hunters in Missouri killed 5 elk in the second year of hunting of the animal in the state, 3 with firearms and 2 during the archery portion of the hunting season. Missouri Department of Conservation said that the total matched the 5 elk taken in 2020. This year, the firearms elk hunting period was December 11th through the 19th, and the archery portion ran October 16th through the 24th. 5 hunters were chosen for elk permits through a random drawing. The Conservation Department says elk are native to Missouri, but were hunted to extinction in the state in the late 1800s. Elk have been restored through years of efforts to reintroduce the animals. On Tuesday, Neighborhood Lifehouse in Joplin hosted its Christmas candlelight service. It was a night of worship and reflection for those in attendance. Choir and dance students performed. Soup was available to warm folks up.
My favorite thing is just the fellowship that we have together. Each year we have a soup supper at the end where we gather around tables and share meals together.
Lifehouse had hosted the event for 12 years prior to the pandemic. They took a break last year due to safety concerns. Some KOAM employees spent the afternoon ringing bells for the Pittsburgh Salvation Army. Red Kettle campaign began in 1891 to provide help to those in need, especially during the holidays. KOAM partners with Salvation Army for our annual Toy Box campaign. Yesterday, we rang bells at the Pittsburgh Super Center. Last week, we rang the bells at the 15th Street Walmart in Joplin. It's 5:07.
Right now, our temperature between 23 and 32 degrees as far as what it feels like. Wind's not too bad right now, so we don't have a large variation when it comes down to the wind chill, mostly low to mid 20s. Now the wind keeps shifting throughout the course of our day to the point where it eventually works in from the south. And as the humidity drops, that also means some elevated fire conditions here for the latter third of December. Overnight, clouds increase. We know what that means. Grab all that warmth that we're able to pick up today. So if we go mid 50s and then we get the cloud cover up to the 60s on Thursday and bumped up the 7-day on Friday. Had 70 for the past 2 days. Now we're rolling 72. Perhaps the Skywatch Weather Center had a little geek session yesterday evening and threw down to see if we could get to 73 and tie that record. I was like, oh, come on, Doug, think about it, man. What if it's a little bit warmer than 70? What if it gets to 73? And he's like, when I forecast, I'll think about it. Maybe I'll bump it up a little bit.
Got a few days to change it.
I want to change it. I'm good with that. That's great.
You don't want to break a record?
You have to remember, Tanya brings up a great point. You have to remember, we cover 18 counties. So we very well could see, if we see 74 at Joplin Regional, we would break a record. We're going to see a 68 someplace else. I mean, it all does. You got to go with what your average high for those 18 counties is going to be. It doesn't mean a singular, it doesn't mean a singular place.
Very true. All right. Thanks, Michael. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the Missouri Tigers wrap up their season with a bowl game tonight against Army. We're going to give you an inside look as they prepare for this final big game. Plus, we'll meet a man who just graduated college 50 years after his first class. Well, we want to know what's on your bucket list. And holiday travel ramps up with Christmas just 3 days away, but the spread of Omicron is also ramping up. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Joplin Eagles off to a hot start in their first season, again under a new head coach. They're undefeated. They're 7-0 on the basketball court for the first month of the season. Trying to stay perfect last night. Home game against the Parkview Vikings. Slow start though until Elijah Whitley says, I'm just going to go straight to the rim for two. TJ Hill, for this is all Parkview, mind you. Vikings up 12-3 after one. And then, always right, don't get started. Finishes off the break. Right from the corner. Launch it. 9 for Always Right in the second quarter alone. Joplin down 24-14 halftime. Third quarter, Always Right to the rim. And the foul. 2-possession game, but Parkview closes the third quarter strong. Shane Glass. Hui, that's how you finish. Vikings hand Joplin their first loss of the season. Final score 60-47. Missouri Tigers less than 24 hours away from playing the final football game of the season. Tigers facing Army. That game will be tonight. It's the Armed Forces Bowl. It takes place in Fort Worth, Texas. Mizzou finished the regular season 6-6. On the other side, Army comes in 8-4. Tigers will be without one of their best players, running back Tyler Beatty, declaring for the NFL draft, and he is sitting out tonight. On the other side, big test for the Mizzou defense, facing a team second in the nation. Army runs for more than 280 yards per game. Missouri's defense has not been able to stop anybody on the ground this year.
Yeah, it's definitely an opportunity to prove, to show everybody, like, the run defense has got better, the whole defense has got better. We playing basically run first because that's what they do, so we just have to stop the triple option and make them change and pass the ball.
Just another opportunity to just prove ourselves and just redeem our name because we came a long way as a defense and we're just ready to prove ourselves once again.
Little NFL news as the Chiefs added 6 players to the NFL COVID list. That includes wide receiver Tyreek Hill and linebacker Nick Bolton. So currently the total number of Chiefs on the COVID list is 13. And of course that includes not only Hill but also Travis Kelce, Harrison Butker, and a number of others. Now, if the player is vaccinated, like Travis Kelce is, that player has a chance to be back in time for the team's game against Pittsburgh on Sunday. So that's kind of the current storyline. But also, get 2 of the best and most consistent coaches in the league squaring off. Andy Reid up against Pittsburgh's Mike Tomlin.
Mike is very honest with his guys, and I think very honest with his judgment of his players. And so that becomes important. That communication with their general manager, I think, is healthy. And then the players know that. I mean, you don't hear people complaining about how he does things. So I think he shoots them straight.
Still to come on the KOAM Morning News. Twins, born joined at the chest and abdomen, successfully separated and now ready to return home. And a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns.
You waited to say.
Just a touch past 5:17 as we take a live look over 7th and Rangeline. Cold one right now, 29 degrees is where we stand with a wind chill of 23. So this will actually be the last morning for quite a while, though, that we talk about below freezing temps. And we're really anywhere from 23 that we see in Fort Scott to 32 being our high marks in Monette and Cassville. Let's go 24 in Chanute. Winds are number 1 going to pick up, but number 2, we're going to watch those arrows continually shift around. Look out by Wichita on the left-hand portion of your screen, and that's where you'll see where it's coming in from the south right there. Well, we'll be the recipients of that here a little bit later on, and that's why we'll have a nice little warm-up today. Not a cloud in the sky until later tonight. Active pattern beginning to develop on the far west coast and the far east coast, but right over the heartland, nah, we're going to be just fine. Temperatures around, say, 55 to 57 degrees, little gathering cloud cover overnight, traps in what heat we get throughout the course of Wednesday and puts it on display for Thursday and Friday as we raise up into the 60s and still challenging records for Christmas Eve day. Time now to turn our attention to the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll. An example of better late than never, as 50 years after a gentleman began college, a 68-year-old in Arkansas earns his degree. Paul Pettit with his story.
Commencement at the University of Arkansas, a college degree marking the end of one of life's chapters and the beginning of another. For Philip Ezel of Fayetteville, it's been 50 years in the making.
I started in 1971, which was, I realized, the centennial year of the school. And then this year, 2021, was the 150th anniversary of the school.
Philip isn't a slow learner. He just got diverted. After starting classes when Richard Nixon was president, Philip left school to be a photographer. After 20 years of doing that, he ran a sports supply company for another 20 years, and then real estate. Oh, and he started a family. But getting his college degree was one box that remained unchecked.
He said he was going to do it, and I said, well, you're going to do what? And then he started, and he just kept going.
The U of A doesn't offer zoology anymore, so this 68-year-old now has a biology degree.
Seemed like I got a little round of applause from folks that don't even know me, so that was kind of cool. They think, wow, that old man did it.
Philip is used to the odd looks on campus, but he says he fit in fine.
Once you get into class, everybody kind of looks at you and think, this is the guy teaching the classes. No, I'm just one of you.
And his wife and family couldn't be more proud of him for it.
I'm ecstatic. I'm thrilled for him that he decided to go back and do that.
Philip's daughter works at the University of Arkansas in the Student Success Department of all things.
I think it's a great accomplishment that he did this. This is great. All about him. Now you can get a job.
That box was checked 50 years ago, but as they say, it's never too late to finish what you started.
My crystal ball's completely broken. I have no idea, but I plan. I'm not done. I'm going to do something. Hope to get a job of some sort, probably different than what I'm doing now, and keep on going.
9 presidents and 50 years later, Philip walked the stage and checked the box. Now it's time to get a job.
Trying to decide what I want to do when I grow up.
Our question for you this morning, what's on the list that you would like to do? And we've got a number of options, from finish education to maybe you got a project that you want to finish off, make amends with people, or try new food or travel. 2 ways to connect to us. Number 1, the Facebook page. Number 2, go straight to the poll, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Be back with Healthwatch next.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, health experts are warning about a double whammy of COVID-19 and influenza this winter. Adding to those concerns, research showing the seasonal flu vaccines do not match one of the main strains currently circulating. Jen Sullivan has a closer look.
A vaccine mismatch, as some health experts warn of a severe flu season.
This year, the kind that's going to be predominant is the one that causes the most severe flu. And so probably it's going to be a bad year for influenza.
In a preliminary study, researchers say one of the main circulating influenza viruses has changed, and the current vaccines against it no longer match it well. The flu vaccines for this season are not as effective at beating a particular mutation of the virus in the strain known as H3N2. And while you can still be protected from getting sick if you get the shot, this year's flu shot may not be as effective at preventing infection from this mutation because the vaccines don't seem to generate the right antibodies against the mutated versions circulating.
I think we're never going to get a 100% match on the strain and the vaccine, but regardless, I think that given what's going on with COVID, it's really important to get the influenza vaccine.
Health experts say vaccinations are still vital as influenza vaccines protect against 4 different strains of the flu, and they are still likely to prevent severe illness, hospitalizations, and deaths, even in years where there are mismatches.
But even preventing half of influenza saves thousands and thousands of lives every year.
For today's Health Minute, I'm Jen Sullivan.
According to the CDC, influenza kills anywhere between 12,000 and 52,000 people a year, depending on the flu season, puts as many as 700,000 people into the hospital. Thousands of federal inmates are being released in an effort to combat the spread of the coronavirus. The U.S. Justice Department made the announcement on Tuesday. Since March of 2020, the Federal Bureau of Prisons has moved more than 36,000 inmates out of prisons and into home confinement under the CARES Act. More than 25,000 have now completed their sentences. 7,700 remain on home confinement. Pardes Biosciences says it has developed a new COVID-19 antiviral pill. The drug maker says the pill does not require a booster, and phase 1 testing should be completed early next year. FDA has yet to authorize a coronavirus treatment pill, but is currently reviewing medications from Merck and Pfizer. The CDC estimates Omicron now causes 73% of new COVID-19 infections in the U.S., and HHS data shows hospitalizations are up 35% over a month ago. With Christmas just 3 days away, John Lawrence explains the impact these alarming numbers are having on the holiday travel season.
As a winter COVID surge takes hold, some families are rethinking their travel plans.
I don't want to have that weight of, oh yeah, one of us brought it to you.
Wendy Bruns says she canceled her trip to see her immunocompromised father. But President Joe Biden says vaccinated people should not have to cancel their holiday plans.
If you are vaccinated and follow the precautions that we all know well, you should feel comfortable celebrating Christmas.
Among those precautions,
they could add another layer of protection or security if they all got a rapid test that morning.
The federal government will purchase 1/2 billion additional at-home rapid tests with delivery starting in January.
Too late for those struggling to find a test before they hit the road this week.
We searched around like on CVS, on Walgreens, on all the websites. Everything's full because of the holidays.
Despite the concerns, the holiday travel rush is only ramping up. AAA expects airlines to see a 184% increase in travelers from last year.
Allow a lot of time, arrive early and prepared, and you'll have a better travel experience.
The TSA anticipates 30 million people will travel by air through January 3rd. A cautious Wendy Bruns says she will not be one of them.
There's too many unknowns here.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Cold out there right now as temperatures as low as 23 degrees. Well, we've got two places that are even hanging on to 32. That's in Monette and in Cassville. Joplin at 29, Miami at 27. Still going to be a delightful afternoon though, and this will be the last time that we've got to talk about freezing temps for quite a long time because our daily highs not only raise up to the 70s by Friday, but look at those overnight lows at the bottom of the screen, all the way up to the 60s to get us ready for what's going to be a delightful Christmas weekend.
Chevy is taking people.
Coming up, the Crawford County Jail upgrades its security system with 40 new cameras.
The temperatures continue to rise still with a chance to break some records here as we head into the Christmas weekend.
Also, the Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas makes COVID testing fast and easy, just in time for the holidays.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It's 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment. But first, as you may have heard, it's now the first full day of winter.
And starting it off with a taste of winter because you may end up having to scrape the windshield once again. But this will be the last time we talk about freezing temperatures for quite some time. Right now we're sitting at 29 in Joplin, 24 in Chanute, right at 32 in both Monette and Cassville, and 27 in Miami. The wind, these arrows, they're just going to keep on spinning around all day long. Eventually doing what they do out to the left-hand part of our screen and working in from the south. And because it is so dry and will remain dry, and we've got a little elevated fire weather to take into consideration. We haven't had any storms as of late, so hopefully there's not a whole lot of bush and brush that need to be burned out there. Really, the travel delay are going to be on either extreme coast, up in the Pacific Northwest and up in New England. That's about the only places right now that are slowing down travelers. Our 7-day forecast, especially if you're going to be on the road, can't beat it. You don't have a worry in the world, to the point where we're talking 60s tomorrow, 70s on Friday.
All right, sounds good. Not going to complain about those temperatures.
Perfect travel weather for Santa.
All right. Nice. Won't be needing the services of Rudolph this year, hopefully.
No, he will not.
All right.
You know there's a candy cane shortage?
Just the peppermint ones or just in general?
Peppermint ones.
Yeah, no loss to me there.
I'm going to dive into this story and bring you the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
But as you know, reindeers really like candy canes.
Well, that may be why the rest of us can't get our hands on candy canes. Santa may have.
He's got the stockpile.
Yeah.
Well, I know where he keeps them, so if you need help.
I might.
All right, thanks, Michael. The Crawford County Jail has added some new eyes. Officials have added cameras to the facility. The cameras are operated and positioned in such a way to prevent blind spots, helping to ensure security for inmates and jail staff. The cameras also allow jailers to spot potential mechanical issues before they become worse.
It's just one of those things that it keeps the staff safe. It keeps the inmates safe. We've had a couple of things where a couple of our staff members have been assaulted, and a couple of times those have happened in kind of blind spots. We've also had things happen in the cells where inmates may have been attacked, or there may be some other thing going on that they're not supposed to be doing.
The jail added around 40 cameras. 14 months after the first sale of medical marijuana in Missouri, the state has reached a milestone. Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services reports dispensaries in the state have sold $200 million in product. Missouri has more than 158,000 qualified medical marijuana patients and 3,200 caregivers. With Christmas and other holidays approaching, a lot of people are expected to travel in the next few weeks, but the Omicron variant of COVID-19 is raising concern for health officials and locals in southeast Kansas. To ensure residents are safe for their holiday visits, the Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas on Tuesday handed out at-home tests in Pittsburgh.
We have two different kinds. One kind which does not require a smartphone. It's a 2-test kit that you can test yourself 24 to 36 hours apart. The second one that does require a smartphone, those were provided to us through KU. We're working with them on a grant, and that does require an app to be downloaded.
Results for both tests can be expected in as little as 15 minutes. A Black History mural on a college campus in St. Louis, Missouri was defaced over the weekend. According to Washington University officials, the mural normally displays the faces of prominent Black figures. The walkway where it's located connects the main buildings of the Danforth campus to most student housing. Sometime Saturday, the mural was covered with the logo and symbols of a known white supremacist group. A letter from university officials said students informed them about the vandalism. The leaders hope that surveillance video will help identify the vandals. Washington University Police Department is investigating. The search is on to replace outgoing Pitt State President Steve Scott. He announced earlier this year that he was stepping down from the position in June of 2022 after 13 years in the position. The university announced it is accepting application for Scott's replacement. They described the university's next leader as an entrepreneurial, enterprising, empowering presence. Hunters in Missouri killed 5 elk in the second year of hunting of the animal in the state, 3 with firearms and 2 during the archery portion of the hunting season. Missouri Department of Conservation says the total matched the 5 elk taken in 2020. This year, the firearms elk hunting period was December 11th through the 19th, and the archery portion ran October 16th through the 24th. 5 hunters were chosen for elk permits through a random drawing. The Conservation Department says elk are native to Missouri but were hunted to extinction in the state in the late 1800s. Elk have been restored through years of efforts to reintroduce the animals. On Tuesday, Neighborhood Lifehouse in Joplin hosted its Christmas candlelight service. It was a night of worship and reflection for those in attendance. Choir and dance students performed, and soup was available to warm folks up.
My favorite thing is the fellowship that we have together. Each year we have a soup supper at the end where we gather around tables and share meals together.
Lifehouse had hosted the event for 12 years prior to the pandemic. They took a break last year due to safety concerns. Well, some KOAM employees spent the afternoon ringing the bells for the Pittsburgh Salvation Army. The Red Kettle campaign began in 1891 to provide help to those in need, especially during the holidays. KOAM partners with Salvation Army for our annual Toy Box campaign. Yesterday, we rang bells at the Pittsburgh Supercenter. Last week, we rang the bells at the 15th Street Walmart in Joplin.
You want the lowdown? Okay. So non-chocolate confectionery sales, this is according to CNN, they're up 34% from last year.
Okay.
High commodity prices, particularly sugar, and major staff shortages have led to a candy cane shortage in the United States. Kroger, as a matter of fact, think about how widespread it is. Dillon's, for those of you here in the 4 states, is only able to fill about 70% of its expected orders for candy canes.
This totally explains, I did buy some candy canes from the local Dillon's in Pittsburgh, but this totally explains why they have a surplus of chocolate Christmas candies, but not non-chocolate candies, because I looked for Christmas gummies at Dillon's, nowhere to be found.
Isn't that amazing that it's up 34% from last year?
Well, a lot of sweet tooths out there.
You know what we should do coming up here in just a little bit? We should dive into the cream cheese shortage as well. It's called a deep tease. Temperatures ranging right now from 23 to 32. It is below the freezing mark, but this will be about the last time we talk about consistently below freezing. Really, might be the last time we do it for 2021, to be honest with you. Up into the mid-50s today, sunshine. Overnight, a little cloud cover begins to build, but look at these temperatures to finish off the work week and head into Christmas with 60s, if not 70s on Friday.
That's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, we'll meet a woman in Williamsburg, Virginia, who just moved into 3D printed Habitat for Humanity house, the first in the U.S. Plus, China just slammed a woman known as the live streaming queen with a massive $210 million fine for tax evasion. We'll have the latest there. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
On this field,
Topping World Watch, formerly conjoined twins have returned home after a successful surgery to separate them in Jordan. UNICEF says Ahmed and Mohammed were joined at the chest and abdomen when they were born last December. Doctors moved them to a specialty hospital in Amman, Jordan for separation surgery in July. After months of recovery, the family is back in Yemen. UNICEF and private donors covered all of the cost of the procedure. The organization says this is one happy story among millions of children suffering in Yemen after 7 years of civil war. Well, she's known as the queen of live streaming in China, but now influencer Via has been taken off social media in order to pay the equivalent of $210 million for tax evasion. It's a sign the ongoing pressure of Beijing is putting on internet celebrities. Selena Wang reports.
China has fined its top live streaming shopping influencer a whopping $210 million for tax evasion. Huang Wei, known as Via and the live streaming queen in China, is getting the largest fine ever imposed on a live streamer, according to Chinese state media. She's become a major internet celebrity in China, selling goods worth billions of yuan. From 2019 to 2020, she evaded more than 640 million yuan in taxes by falsely reporting the commission income she earned from live streaming platforms. According to authorities, Huang had millions of followers on China's major social media and shopping platforms. All of her accounts have been removed, but in a Weibo post reviewed by CNN before her account was taken down, Huang said she was, quote, deeply guilty. It is not clear when Huang will be back up online. In November, tax authorities had slapped smaller fines on 2 other top shopping influencers whose accounts have still not been restored. This is part of the broader crackdown in China that has targeted tech giants, social media platforms, and celebrity culture. Under Xi Jinping, the party has become more obsessed with ideological and cultural control. The party sees the extravagant lifestyles of some celebrities as a sign of moral decay, and the sky-high income of some celebrities is a glaring reminder of China's wealth gap. The crackdown on some celebrities and social media stars comes at a time when Xi Jinping is determined to redistribute wealth as part of his campaign for common prosperity. So that means more pressure on China's wealthiest citizens and businesses.
Let's look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. Let's toss it over to Michael for something to talk about.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page and our morning Insta poll, talking about better late than never. Like you'd meet Philip Ezel of Fayetteville, Arkansas. Graduated with a degree in biology. Now, What's really impressive is the fact that he started college classes back in 1971. Well, then he had some life things to do, but he eventually just finished off and got his diploma. Our question this morning, what is on your bucket list? Right now, 37% of you say there's a building project in mind that you'd like to complete, and another 37% say you'd like to travel, and 26% are going to become foodies. Appreciate everybody's engagement. Two ways, either through our Facebook page or if you'd like to go straight to the poll, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. We'll be back with the news you need to know before you head out the door right after this.
Chevy. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. 14 months after the first sale of medical marijuana in Missouri, the state has reached a milestone. The Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services reports dispensaries in the state have sold $200 million in product. Missouri has more than 158,000 qualified medical marijuana patients and 3,200 caregivers. The Crawford County Jail has added some new eyes. Officials have added new cameras to the facility. The cameras are operated and positioned in such a way to prevent blind spots, helping to ensure security for inmates and jail staff. Cameras also allow jailers to spot potential mechanical issues before they become worse. The jail added around 40 cameras. With Christmas and other holidays approaching, a lot of people are expected to travel in the next few weeks, but the Omicron variant of COVID-19 is raising concern for health officials and locals in Southeast Kansas. To ensure residents are safe for their holiday visits, the Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas on Tuesday handed out at-home tests in Pittsburgh. They provided two types of tests, one requiring a cell phone. Results for both tests can be expected in as little as 15 minutes. On Tuesday, Neighborhood Lifehouse in Joplin hosted its Christmas Candlelight service. It was a night of worship and reflection for those in attendance. Choir and dance students performed, and soup was available to warm folks up. Lifehouse had hosted the event for 12 years prior to the pandemic. They took a break last year due to safety concerns. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
A little bit chilly out there this morning. Temperatures really from about 21 now. We've seen Sedan, far left-hand side of your screen, seen Sedan drop down to 21. While Monette and Cassville on the far right-hand side are right at the freezing mark. Also of note today, our humidity is going to continue to drop. So when we've got to combine that with the good south wind, and that means elevated fire concerns. We're certainly not there at this point in time. But this afternoon will bring us humidity readings as low as 30%. Keep on warming up. We'll go mid-50s for this Wednesday, and even with the developing cloud cover later tonight, you can tell we're going to stay on the dry side, if not the warm side. We'll be up into the 60s on Thursday, 70s on Friday, and then get to ride 60s as well for Christmas Day.
On the first day of winter, a Virginia woman officially took ownership of her new home in Williamsburg. It's the first ever completed 3D printed house in the U.S. made by Habitat for Humanity. Crews broke ground in July on the 1,200 square foot 3-bedroom house. A ribbon cutting ceremony was held on Tuesday. Angela Bowen has the story.
The finishing touches are made.
To have a home right before Christmas is really, really exciting.
And though it's brand new, this Williamsburg home from Habitat for Humanity is historic in a way and welcoming a lot of fanfare.
The history that we're making today is that this is the first ever owner-occupied 3D printed home in the world.
Now, if you're wondering just how a 3D printed home is made, check out this time-lapse video. All that concrete, now a charming home.
Looking at this home, you would never know that it's 3D printed until you get right up against it.
And while it's memorable for the entire community, it's also nostalgic for the homeowner.
My great-grandmother, Daisy Shankfield, she had a concrete home, and I grew up in that concrete home. It's just really exciting that I could carry on a tradition, something that my great-grandmother had.
And thanks to Habitat for Humanity, Stringfield can make affordable payments.
This is my son's room.
Providing a safe, comfortable place for her and her son.
I just wanted something totally different, and this is different.
Ultimately, this is the American dream. This is home ownership, and this is something that we know April's wanted to achieve for a long time.
Family and friends can come and share that moment with me.
all just in time to be home for the holidays.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm going to add it to the tree.
That's cool. We'll be right back with a check of your forecast when we return.
Chevy is taking.
Well, it's chilly right now. We'll have an uptick in the wind. It's not playing a large factor in the difference between our temperatures and our wind chill as far as what it feels like. So it was just kind of consistently there in the low to mid 20s. We haven't seen anybody drop below that, even 28 in Nevada and Stockton. So that's actually pretty seasonable for right now. And eventually when that wind begins to twist around and move in from the south, that's going to provide us with some abnormal December temperatures that we've had for the past couple of days, but now we're talking mid to high 50s on Wednesday and just getting warmer as we progress toward Christmas. The cloud cover overnight trap a little bit of that warmth, keep us well above the freezing mark for Wednesday night into Thursday morning. And really the only travel concerns you're going to see are the extreme coastlines, Pacific Northwest and up in New England. Over us, it's smooth sailing to the point where we're talking 60s on Thursday, 70s on Friday, and more KOAM Morning News next.
Coming up, the Crawford County Jail upgrades its security system with 40 new cameras.
Once again below the freezing mark, but just wait till we get to a 7-day forecast that'll challenge record highs for a Christmas weekend.
Also, the Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas makes COVID testing fast and easy, just in time for the holidays. Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, let's go to Michael Hayslip, where he's been tracking the first full day of winter.
Tracking the cold, but it's crazy to think that every afternoon we're seeing anywhere from a 25, if not 30-degree warm-up. From the freezing temps where we start, and these afternoons are turning out to be just perfect. Now today's going to be a little bit windier. That'll be the one thing that we'll notice, but also too, we're talking mid-50s here on a December day. This will be the 17th day of the month where our temperatures have been above average, if not well above average. We do sit at 30 degrees right now over 7th and range line. And so it's another day where most of us are waking up and getting ready to probably go scrape a little frost off the windshield. Same thing we've had past 3 days, really. No change temperature-wise from Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday mornings. But the big factor is what's developing out to the west. See, look at those arrows out by Wichita. And while it's calm, the fact that these are moving in from the south means all our arrows are going to do the same thing here. By the time we get into our peak heating hours, say between 1:30 and between 1:30 and 2:30 is usually when we top out this time of year. Skywatch storm tracker. Nothing on there, not even cloud cover. As a matter of fact, if we remove the sweeping radar, you notice it's just get a little finicky down there by Ponca City. None of that's even hitting the ground. A whole bunch of high pressure hanging over us. So let's go mid-50s today. Little cloud cover overnight, but that keeps us well above the freezing point. And telling you the next time we even see a 32 in there is in between Christmas night and Sunday morning. But that's not even, close to the 21s and 22s that we've thrown out here the past couple of days. And then we're going to cruise 50s and 60s next week to wrap up 2021.
Very true. Yeah.
Something else.
Hey, I was thinking about what or who we'll be tracking here in the next few days. We're going to get some assistance this year from NORAD.
We've already got this. We've already got everything set up. No, it's funny you asked that. Actually, I did it Monday.
Nice.
Got everything built in here, so yeah, we're ready to rock and roll as soon as he takes to the skies.
I mean, with the time change and stuff, it'll work perfect for.
Yeah, he'll be out and about by the time the KOAM Morning News is underway.
Sounds good.
Yep.
It's going to be a fun day this Christmas.
Always enjoy that.
Fun day.
Always enjoy it.
All right, thanks, Michael. The Crawford County Jail has added some new eyes. Officials have added cameras to the facility. The cameras are operated and positioned in such a way to prevent blind spots, helping to ensure security for inmates and jail staff. Cameras also allow jailers to spot potential mechanical issues before they become worse.
It's just one of those things that it keeps the staff safe. It keeps the inmates safe. We've had a couple of things where a couple of our staff members have been assaulted, and a couple of times those have happened in kind of blind spots. We've also had things happen in the cells where inmates may have been attacked, or there may be some other thing going on that they're not supposed to be doing.
The jail added around 40 cameras. 14 months after the first sale of medical marijuana in Missouri, the state has reached a milestone. The Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services reports dispensaries in the state have sold $200 million in product. Missouri has more than 158,000 qualified medical marijuana patients and 3,200 caregivers. With Christmas and other holidays approaching, a lot of people are expected to travel in the next few weeks. But the Omicron variant of COVID-19 is raising concern for health officials and locals in southeast Kansas. To ensure residents are safe for their holiday visits, Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas on Tuesday handed out at-home tests in Pittsburgh.
We have two different kinds. One kind which does not require a smartphone. It's a two-test kit that you can test yourself 24 to 36 hours apart. The second one that does require a smartphone, those were provided to us through KU. We're working with them on a grant, and that does require an app to be downloaded.
Results for both tests can be expected in as little as 15 minutes. A Black History mural on a college campus in St. Louis, Missouri was defaced over the weekend. According to Washington University officials, the mural normally displays the faces of prominent Black figures. The walkway where it's located connects the main buildings of the Danforth campus to most student housing. But sometime on Saturday, the mural was covered with the logo and symbols of a known white supremacist group. A letter from university officials said students informed them about the vandalism. The leaders hope that surveillance video will help identify the vandals. Washington University Police Department is investigating. Search is on to replace outgoing Pitt State President Dr. Steve Scott. He announced earlier this year that he was stepping down from the position in June of 2022 after 13 years on the job. The university announced it is accepting applications for Scott's replacement. They described the university's next leader as an entrepreneurial, enterprising, empowering presence. Well, hunters in Missouri killed 5 elk in the second year of hunting of the animal in the state, 3 with firearms and 2 during the archery portion of the hunting season. Missouri Department of Conservation says that the total matched the 5 elk taken in 2020. This year, firearms elk hunting period was December 11th through the 19th, and the archery portion ran October 16th through the 24th. 5 hunters were chosen for elk permits through a random drawing. Conservation Department says elk are native to Missouri but were hunted to extinction in the state in the late 1800s. Elk have been restored through years of efforts to reintroduce the animals. On Tuesday, Neighborhood Lifehouse in Joplin hosted its Christmas candlelight service. It was a night of worship and reflection for those in attendance. Choir and dance students performed, and soup was available to warm folks up.
My favorite thing is the fellowship that we have together. Each year we have a soup supper at the end where we gather around tables and share meals together.
Hosted the event for 12 years prior to the pandemic. They took a break last year due to safety concerns. Well, some KOAM employees spent the afternoon ringing the bells for the Pittsburgh Salvation Army. The Red Kettle campaign began in 1891 to provide help to those in need, especially during the holidays. KOAM partners with the Salvation Army for our annual Toy Box campaign. And yesterday, we rang bells at the Pittsburgh Supercenter. Last week, we rang the bells at the 15th Street Walmart in Joplin. And we're back with pictures with Santa. First up, we've got Creed Boyd, who's, oh, look at that little guy, 1 month old now. Just old enough to fit into Santa's arms.
All right, we got the Swartz family. They are from Girard. We've got Kate, who's 7, and Colin, who's 3, and Koopa. Cooper's just at 5 months. That's his first big with the big man there. Beautiful picture by the Swartz family.
All right, next up we have the Blessant family from Pittsburgh. Age 6 years old is Bentley Blessant, and Branton Blessant is 2. Aww.
One more to pass along, and that is the O'Brien family. We've got Mason, who is 10, and Amelia, who is Half that, Amelia comes in at 5 years old, and I hope you guys had a wonderful time visiting with Santa. And of course, a special thank you to our good friends at the Christmas shop for ushering in the big man and letting the kids have a chance to let him know what's on their wish list this holiday season. It's a 7-day forecast with temperatures up in the mid-50s today. A lot of sunshine. Remember, elevated fire weather, not only with our wind, but that humidity is going to drop down to about 30% this afternoon.
All right, here. That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, a Kansas City man loses his life in a road rage incident. But even in death, he saved 7 lives. Plus, unrealistic expectations can stress out both parents and children during the holidays. We're going to show you how doing less will help you get more out of the holiday season. We'll explain. And if you like cream cheese, you may be out of luck as the supply for the popular ingredient cannot keep up with the demand during the pandemic. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back. In Consumer Watch this morning, restaurants have been hit hard during the pandemic with shutdowns and a lack of workers, and the industry continues to struggle with another popular ingredient in short supply. Naomi Ruckham explains.
Food shortages are now spreading to local bagel shops. That's because it's hard to find cream cheese.
It kind of just hit it. It was just like all of a sudden out of the blue.
Bo's Bagels in New York usually buys cream cheese in bulk from distributors like F&H Dairies. But on this day, the cooler was nearly empty.
Usually this is just wall-to-wall bulk cream cheese all along the pallet racks.
That's forcing bagel shop owners to look for it in grocery stores, which can be a challenge. Sometimes there's plenty available, and other times the shelves are bare.
The aisle for cream cheese was completely empty, so which was really a shock.
Kraft Heinz, which makes Philadelphia cream cheese, says demand has increased since the pandemic started. This year, the company has shipped 35% more product than last year.
Having a hard time finding cream cheese on shelves means having a hard time putting cheesecakes on tables.
Kraft ran a promotion last weekend actually suggesting alternative holiday desserts for people who can't find their product. The company even offered a $20 reimbursement to 18,000 customers.
Consumers are going to have to be patient with the sporadic shortages that they might be seeing for different products.
Cornell University professor Christopher Wolf says labor and supply chain issues continue to hurt much of the food industry.
We're going to be well into 2022, if not, most of 2022, I think, before we can get recovered from this. But the $64,000 question is what's going to happen with COVID and us getting back to some semblance of a normal labor market.
At this point, it's just not clear when the cream cheese shortage will ease. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
Wall Street ended a 3-day losing streak despite continued uncertainty over the Omicron variant. The Dow rose 560 points, the Nasdaq gained 360, and the S&P 500 was up 81. At-home COVID tests have unfortunately become one of this holiday season's most in-demand items. Some pharmacies are now restricting the number that customers can buy. Walgreens has set a limit of 4 test kits, while CVS will allow people to buy up to 6 of them at once. Both companies said the rule applies to online and in-person sales. The Kellogg strike has ended. Yesterday, the company said workers voted to ratify a new contract with the cereal maker. Some 1,400 employees walked off the job in early October. Their union said the new agreement provides cost of living adjustments and a raise, but does not include any concessions. They will return to work after the upcoming holiday weekend. That's it for Consumer Watch. We'll be right back.
This season serves as a reminder.
On the 7th, take a look at our daily almanac for this December the 22nd, where our average high would be 46, and we're going to be a good 10 degrees above that. Thank you, sir, Ron. Record dates back to 1982, 71. Won't quite get there, but just wait till we get to Friday. Last day that we'll have to talk about freezing temps here for a while. It is just 30 degrees right now in Joplin, ranging anywhere from 24. Still our low point in Sedan, while we've got Neosho now, the new clubhouse leader, able to get above the freezing mark and make it up to 33. Winds slowly but surely shifting around, pretty much from the east right now, but eventually going to make it in from the south, and we'll also have an uptick on those this afternoon. Skywatch Storm Tracker looking great. Only travel concerns are bookended in the Pacific Northwest and in New England. Other than that, everything is smooth sailing as far as travel goes. Highs around 55 to 57 degrees later on. Cloud cover builds overnight. That helps us stay out of that freezing range. Look at those incremental lows going 40s, 50s, 60s, and those daily highs. Remember, 73 is our magic number at Joplin Regional Airport for Friday. We get there on Christmas Eve day. We will tie the record of 73 that dates back to 1955. The family of a Kansas City, Missouri man is being honored for turning his murder into new life and new hope. 19-year-old Christopher Hudson Jr. was shot and killed in a road rage incident in 2017. His pregnant girlfriend, she was also hurt. She did survive. Now the Midwest Transplant Network is honoring Chris for being an organ donor. He'll also be memorialized in next year's Rose Bowl parade as part of the Donate Life float. Brian Johnson talked to Chris's family and one of those people whose life he saved.
He was loving and caring and kind.
This florograph, made out of organic material, captures the vitality 19-year-old Christopher Hudson Jr. was known for.
He was a ball of energy. He was a loving, kind, funny person. He could get along with anybody, any race, any age.
Next week, the Hudson family.
At Research Medical Center Monday, Hudson was honored for saving 7 lives through organ donation.
The fact that I can still hear that heartbeat, my brother's heartbeat was strong, and the fact that I can still hear it and it's still beating in this world, making a sound in this world, that's like, he's still here.
In May 2017, Hudson was the victim of a road rage incident. A driver shot him in the head. His car stopped near 104th and Holmes.
To die just driving down the street doing something as simple as that, it's very senseless.
He had signed up to be an organ donor only 4 months earlier. His heart went to Gary Dixon from Independence.
Well, I'm part of Chris Hudson's ripple effect, and this is part of his ripple effect. It's basically honoring him and his gift and his donation.
Hudson's gift will be honored at this year's Rose Parade.
Make sure you're signing your driver's license. Make sure you are an organ donor.
His family also started a nonprofit, Breath in Me, Life in You, teaching young adults about conflict resolution. They want others to be forces for good in the world, like Hudson.
Resolution for the Hudson family in the case of John C. Young. He's from Independence, Missouri. Young was convicted of killing Christopher Hudson Jr. Young was found guilty on 6 felony counts and sentenced to 24 years in prison. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News and Health Watch next.
Topping Health Watch this morning, we know that the most wonderful time of the year can also lead to a lot of stress. New survey finds unrealistic expectations for the holidays are stressing out both parents and kids. But as CBS's Bradley Blackburn reports, you may get more from the holidays by doing less.
Mom Stephanie Mortimer knows the holiday season can be hectic. She's squeezing in some shopping with her son Eli and their friends.
We have to decorate the house, we have to get all the gifts, we have to make sure the kids have a memorable holiday.
In December, it can feel like the to-do list is longer than Santa's list.
Do you ever feel a pressure to get it a certain way?
For sure, yeah. And then you're not sure if everybody always notices, right?
A new C.S. Mott Children's Hospital national poll finds parents are worried their holiday stress may be taking away from holiday joy.
A lot of them feel like that has a negative impact on their child's enjoyment of the holidays, and that's just so unfortunate.
The poll shows nearly a third of parents are stressed during the holidays by extra shopping, balancing finances, and especially keeping their family healthy. Moms are twice as likely as dads to experience high stress, and 1 in 5 parents believes their stress negatively affects their kids during the holiday season. Sarah Clark is the poll co-director.
I think in some families, we're trying to make up for some things missed over the last year or year and a half. And I don't really think that's the approach that is going to be most helpful.
Experts say to make the season brighter, sit down with your family and ask everyone what they really want from Christmas. Keep your favorite traditions alive, but think about which activities you can cut or minimize.
The presents and the holiday spirit and the meals, I guess.
What about the elf on the shelf?
Oh, yeah.
So check the to-do list twice and try to trim some of the stress for more joy this season. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
70% of parents say the best way to reduce holiday stress is to get some alone time, and more than half said listening to music helps. Sitting in the aisle seat on public transportation could put you at greater risk of catching a virus from someone else on the bus. Researchers at the American Institute of Physics developed a model that showed droplets from someone in a window seat rose more and were less likely to invade the space of other passengers. But droplets from the middle seat contaminated aisle passengers more. Reducing frailty in older adults could help prevent dementia. A new study published in the Journal of Neurology, Neurosurgery, and Psychiatry found that a healthy lifestyle may reduce the risk of dementia, even for those with a genetic predisposition for the disease. Researchers say this finding will help older adults look for ways to stay fit and reduce their risk. Life expectancy in the U.S. dropped to 77 years in 2020, 1.8 years shorter than the year before. Annual report from the CDC also found that COVID-19 was the third leading cause of death behind heart disease and cancer. Infant mortality also dropped by 2.9% in 2020 to a record low. Let's look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Not a large gap in between the wind chill and the actual temperature. This is what it feels like when you step outside. Everybody pretty much low to mid 20s. Now, as far as actual temperatures go, still most places below the freezing mark. But now we're seeing Parsons creep up there to 32 to join Monette, Cassville. Earlier we had 33 in there in Neosho. Neosho looks like it's going to jockey back and forth. Go from 31 to 33 all morning long. Weather trend eventually going to lift us up into the mid 50s with a whole bunch of sunshine and a pretty good south wind.
Coming up, the Crawford County Jail upgrades its security system with 40 new cameras.
Yeah, it's chilly outside, but at least we escaped the fog and let the warm up begin as we head toward the Christmas weekend.
Also, the Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas makes COVID testing fast and easy, just in time for the holidays.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first, we're focusing on the first full day of winter.
And last time for a while, we're going to talk about below freezing temps. Last 3 days, we've had to scrape the frost off the windshield before we get ready to go to work, which actually not unusual. Check out the daily almanac for this December the 22nd. Our average low would 27 degrees. We should be right there. It's these daily highs that we keep blowing out of the water. Average would be 46. We'll be about 10 to 12 degrees warmer than that this afternoon. That being said, we do start pre-sunrise at 30 degrees right now over Joplin. Temperatures ranging anywhere from 22 being the low point in Sedan, up to 32, which is where we see right at the freezing mark in Parsons, Monette, and Cassville. Miami sits at 27. Skywatch storm tracker looking great. Now, a little nighttime cloud cover would never hurt anybody because it would help us temperature-wise. And that's exactly what's going to happen tonight into tomorrow. Look at that Midwest right there. Not a worry in the world. So let the sunshine kick in, let the south wind also increase, and we'll be up around 55 to 57 degrees. Once again, as we've been harping on, if you've got any travel plans for today or tomorrow, well, there's clouds, but no worry about any precipitation. We're going to stay very dry all the way through the weekend. And remember, the clouds really do help out because look at those overnight lows. We won't have to talk about scraping that frost off for quite some time.
Yeah, we'll take that. I enjoy not having to scrape my car.
Combo the clouds and the south wind, and yeah, can't beat it.
Yep.
Cannot beat that.
I wouldn't be even upset if we broke a record on Friday. We'll be watching.
And once again, for everybody that, you know, is unhappy with the weather department for not providing a white Christmas, at least it's not going to be 42 and raining.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're not going to have the white Christmas, why don't we just go to the exact opposite extreme and try to break record warmth?
There we go. We'll take it. All right, thanks, Michael. Crawford County Jail has added some new eyes. Officials have added cameras to the facility. Cameras are operated and positioned in such a way to prevent blind spots, helping to ensure security for inmates and jail staff. The cameras also allow jailers to spot potential mechanical issues before they become worse.
It's just one of those things that it keeps the staff
safe. It keeps the inmates safe. We've had a couple of things where a couple of our staff members have been assaulted, and a couple of times those have happened in kind of blind spots. We've also had things happen in the cells where inmates may have been attacked, or there may be some other thing going on that they're not supposed to be doing.
The jail added around 40 cameras. 14 months after the first sale of medical marijuana in Missouri, the state has reached a milestone. The Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services reports dispensaries in the state have sold $200 million in product. Missouri has more than 158,000 qualified medical marijuana patients and 3,200 caregivers. A lot of people are expected to travel as we get closer to Christmas, and now with the new variant of COVID-19 quickly becoming the dominant strain, Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas is providing a way for people to quickly find out whether they have COVID. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky has how the at-home tests work and how they can help keep the community safe.
Cooper Neal is like many that will be gathering with family over the holidays. Although with COVID-19 still a concern, Neal says he wants to make sure he can celebrate safely, especially as an educator in the community.
I think returning from Thanksgiving break gave us an indicator that, people are gathering, and this is still a real issue in our community and our nation.
It's why he was one of many at the Pittsburgh Public Library picking up an at-home COVID-19 test.
I'm mostly concerned about going back to school and being safe, but yeah, I want to be extra safe for fam and friends this year.
Neal wasn't the only person lining up for an at-home test. People were lining up throughout the library for a number of reasons, from recent exposures to playing it safe right before the holidays.
If your test comes back negative, you're in the clear, but if you get a positive result, your next step should be either seeing your healthcare provider or taking a visit to your local health department.
Testing is still very important, especially if you're going to be with family over the holidays. And then this is a quick way that you can see whether or not you're negative. If the tests are positive, it's really just a screening.
These tests weren't designed with just the holidays in mind either.
And that's kind of the instructions from the federal government. I mean, they didn't give them to us in anticipation of the holidays. They are providing them to our communities as long as we are facing different COVID variants.
As we continue to navigate the pandemic, the health center tells us they hope this will serve as an additional layer of protection. In Pittsburgh, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
These at-home tests are not a substitute for lab testing if mandated by your employer. The search is on to replace outgoing Pitt State President Dr. Steve Scott. He announced earlier this year that he was stepping down from the position in June of 2022 after 13 years on the job. University announced it is accepting applications for Scott's replacement. They described the university's next leader as an entrepreneurial, enterprising, empowering presence. Well, hunters in Missouri killed 5 elk in the second year of hunting of the animal in the state, 3 with firearms and 2 during the archery portion of the hunting season. Missouri Department of Conservation said that the total matched the 5 elk taken in 2020. This year, the firearms elk hunting period was December 11th through the 19th, and the archery portion ran October 16th through the 24th. 5 hunters were chosen for elk permits through a random drawing. The Conservation Department says elk are native to Missouri, but were hunted to extinction in the state in the late 1800s. Elk have been restored through years of efforts to reintroduce the animals. That's a look at our top news stories. First, let's go to our weather.
And a look at our 7-day forecast. Temperatures today, mid to high 50s, and the cloud cover overnight. We can stop talking about freezing temperatures once tomorrow rolls around, so that will be nice. Working up to the 60s for Thursday, Christmas Eve day, challenging a record of 73 that dates back to 1955 at Joplin Regional Airport. Martin Johnson Airport in Chanute, also 73. That one a little bit more recent. That one only dates back to the 80s. And a great looking Christmas day as well, even with partly sunny skies, a little bit more cloud cover. Even with partly sunny skies, though, mid 60s for Christmas.
Our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. As both holiday travel and the spread of the Omicron variant ramp up, the White House announces its plans for at-home COVID testing. Plus, we'll meet a 68-year-old who marked college graduate off his bucket list. We want to know what's on your bucket list. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Hey, sports fans, Mark.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, a COVID-19 surge related to the Omicron variant threatens to upend many Americans' Christmas plans. Courtney Keeley is in New York with the latest pandemic developments.
The federal government is ramping up its response to the Omicron variant. President Biden yesterday announced that 500 million at-home COVID-19 tests will be distributed for free in the coming weeks.
Because Omicron spreads easily, especially among the unvaccinated, it's critically important that we know who's infected.
Beyond testing, the president said there is an urgent need to immunize more people.
If you're not fully vaccinated, you have good reason to be concerned. Almost everyone who has died from COVID-19 in the past many months has been unvaccinated.
Omicron has now been detected in nearly every state and has surpassed Delta as the predominant coronavirus strain. Omicron is believed to be more transmissible and therefore more dangerous.
Each variant has its own little shop of horrors. And in the case of the Omicron variant, that's what this is, that 1-2 punch of so many people getting infected and knocking out a substantial segment of our healthcare workforce at the same time.
20% of U.S. hospitals anticipate a staffing shortage within the next week.
The death toll, I think, in the end is probably going to be similar to what it would have been with Delta. However, this is going to occur faster because of the way Omicron spreads.
Several states are activating their National Guard forces to provide support to hospitals and other healthcare facilities.
CDC says more than 288,000 new COVID-19 cases were reported in the U.S. on Monday, the second highest of the pandemic. There were over 294,000 on January 8th of this year. Santa Claus is bringing early Christmas cheer to kids who lost their homes during recent Kentucky tornadoes. Yesterday, he brought gifts to children staying in emergency shelters at 2 state parks. Governor Andy Beshear called in the big guy because tornado victims are in more than 200 rooms at the parks. Santa isn't the only one helping out after the storms devastated western Kentucky. First responders are staying at almost 100 state park rooms during this holiday week. That's a look at today's top national stories. Let's check back in with Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOAM News Now Facebook page in our morning Insta poll, a case of better late than never. Philip Azell of Fayetteville, Arkansas, graduated with a degree in biology. Now, that's pretty cool, but now let's tell his story. The fact that he started college classes back in 1971. Well, then, life happened. After starting classes when Richard Nixon was president, Philip left school to become a photographer. After 20 years of doing that, he ran a sports supply company for another 2 decades and then on to real estate, and throughout that all, started a family. Beginning his college degree was one box that remained unchecked. Now he's a 68-year-old biology major, and his wife and family say they couldn't be more proud of him for it. Our question for you this morning: what is on that old list that you want to get done? Building project. I thought this was pretty interesting. 40% of you have a project that you won't get out of the way before it's all said and done, and 30% say travel. You can take part each and every morning. We appreciate all the engagement. Either connect to us via our Facebook page, KOAM News Now, or if you'd like to go directly to the poll, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Birthdays and anniversaries on the way, but first, to look at what's coming up on CBS Mornings.
I'm walking in an irrigation canal that's supposed to provide water to 190,000 acres of farmland. But right now, it's empty. And that's turning local communities into what some are calling ghost towns. That story coming up on CBS Mornings.
We take this time to honor today's 4-state hero, Michael Yanez, a private first class in the United States Marines. He served in Helmand Province in Afghanistan, where he earned the Combat Action Medal and the Afghanistan Campaign Medal. Native of Erie, Kansas, we salute you, Michael Yanez, our 4-state hero.
Kyra Whitchurch, who is celebrating her 11th birthday in Jasper, Missouri. Kyra, these birthday wishes coming with love from Granny and Papa.
And we've got Christian Bledsoe turning 11 years old this year in Frontenac. Happy birthday, Christian.
In the Berg, Lily Hall. Happy 14th birthday to Miss Lily.
She's all bundled up. All right, Logan Hoosier out in Fredonia is now 18 years old. Growing up there, Logan. Happy birthday.
On to our 30s with Amanda Stock, who's turning 31 in Carterville. And Amanda, I believe these birthday wishes come with love from that gentleman on the left. And have a great day, Miss Amanda.
All right, speaking about with love from your husband, we've also got birthday wishes going out to Monica Castorina. Happy birthday, 34 years old.
Mr. Roy Wisenhunt, one of our 4-state heroes. And thank you for your service, sir, and a very happy 86th birthday. Mr. Wisenhunt, he is in Carl Junction.
Billy DeGraff celebrating birthday number 97. Looking good there, Miss DeGraff in Galena.
All right, so this time of year is a time for family, friends, and celebrations, and we'll start on your left because that is Tasha Hurt, who's celebrating a birthday. And Tasha, a very happy birthday to you. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the other two beautiful ladies in that picture as well. Let's go to the middle. That is Pat Comfort. Now, this happens to be Tasha's great-grandmother. So a very happy birthday to Pat as well. Now, wait a second. Who's on the right?
Well,
that's Sharon Hurt.
Yeah.
So that is Tasha's grandmother.
3 generations.
The Hurt and Comfort family. With just a marvelous, marvelous generational birthday picture right there. A happy birthday to all of you in Joplin. And I'm so glad that you guys get to spend time not only with each other for your birthday, but also for the Christmas season.
All right, there was a big anniversary in Chicopee, Kansas yesterday for the Pesaventos. John and Ethelene celebrating 58 years together. What a great picture of them. Congratulations to the Pesaventos.
Logan Hensley celebrating 2 decades. A happy 20th to Logan in Pittsburgh. Rick Mine, you want to talk about, I've done a couple stories on Rick. Marvelous, marvelous gentleman, and a happy birthday to you. And I do appreciate the note that was included. Rick is a world champion clay pigeon shooter. So you can run out the Claythorn. You run out the Claythorn. You tell him you know Rick Mine. No, don't do that. Don't tell him. If you don't know Rick Mine, don't tell him. But if you find out if Rick is there, sit back and you're going to learn something. Because he shoot the eyes off of anything. Happy birthday, Mr. Rick in Walnut. Nano Bay turning 24. A very happy birthday. And we finish it off with Mr. Mike Mcginty. He is celebrating his 65th. And Mike, I want you to have a marvelous birthday and a wonderful Christmas as well. He celebrates in Miami. A happy birthday and happy anniversary to all on this December the 22nd. Or catch up with the Pesaventos. Maybe you were celebrating the 21st as well. That's where you can send them into email-wise, birthdays at KOAMTV.com. You can also go to our website, KOAMNewsNow.com. Here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website and signing up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to KOAMNewsNow.com. Sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
Coming up on Fox 14, we're going to meet a McDonald's worker leaping into action to save a customer's life. You are not going to want to miss this story, so please join us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 to find out more. Look at the outside Television City. Look at that shot right there. That is about as beautiful as can be. Starting to see the traffic pick up over 7th and Rangeline as well, where Joplin sits at a cool 30 degrees. We're starting to see a couple more of our communities creep up to 32 right now. We've got Neodesha and Parsons there, Monette right there, and Joplin and Carthage right behind as well. Let's go 29 in Nevada and 27 in both Miami and Grove. Skywatch Storm Tracker has been pristine. As a matter of fact, that is kind of the case for the entire Midwest. See the big ridge of the jet stream. That thing is going to move this away and provide us with some warmer temperatures. You've really got any travel concerns limited to our far coastlines, whether it be the Pacific Northwest or up in New England. Those are really the only airport delays that we're seeing in the contiguous 48. So If you have travel plans, whether it be driving or flying, everything looking good to go, not only for today, but all the way into the Christmas weekend as well, because eventually, somebody said it was winter, and 7-day forecast may politely disagree with us, because we're talking about 60s and 70s from Thursday all the way through Saturday.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. 14 months after the first sale of medical marijuana in Missouri, the state has reached a milestone. The Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services reports dispensaries in the state have sold $200 million in product. Missouri has more than 158,000 qualified medical marijuana patients and 3,200 caregivers. Crawford County Jail has added some new eyes. Officials have added cameras to the facility. The cameras are operated and positioned in such a way to prevent blind spots, helping to ensure security for inmates and jail staff. Cameras also allow jailers to spot potential mechanical issues before they become worse. The jail added around 40 new cameras. With Christmas and other holidays approaching, a lot of people are expected to travel in the next few weeks. But the Omicron variant of COVID-19 is raising concern for health officials and locals in Southeast Kansas. To ensure residents are safe for their holiday visits, the Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas on Tuesday handed out at-home tests in Pittsburgh. They provided 2 types of tests, one requiring a cell phone. Results for both tests can be expected in as little as 15 minutes. On Tuesday, Neighborhood Lifehouse in Joplin hosted its Christmas Candlelight service. It was a night of worship and reflection for those in attendance. Choir and dance students performed, and soup was available to warm folks up. Lifehouse had hosted the event for 12 years prior to the pandemic. They took a break last year due to safety concerns. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Chilly right now. Grab the jacket when you take off. But we're actually going to be talking about, well, I'd say grab a coat, I guess I should say, and then get ready for jacket weather after that. So we'll be up into the mid-50s today, and then we're going to roll 60s on Thursday, 70s on Friday, and still looking at a great Christmas day as well, with highs around 66 degrees. So for the duration of the morning, and I apologize to everybody in the control room and in the hallway, and I apologize to Carrie, I've been walking around humming or singing Private Eyes by Hall & Oates. And for the life of me, I don't know how it got there. And then you did News You Need to Know. I think earlier this morning when you first did the Crawford County Jail song and said a new set of eyes.
Yeah.
I think that's what set that thing off. So for 2 hours, I've been walking around singing Private Eyes.
Just when you were about to forget it, 30 minutes later, I said that same line again.
Yeah, I know. It's like word osmosis, which I know is counterintuitive. But yeah, it's like it's subliminally. Like I'm over here, and I think Tanya was talking about a new set of eyes, and eventually,
A new
yes,
set of eyes.
I'm singing Private Eyes by Hall & Oates for the last 2 hours.
There you go. Well, coming up today at noon, we are making Christmas tree brownies in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
And of course, your morning news continues on KOAM, CBS Mornings. That's coming up next.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And this morning, we're going to bring you a follow-up to a story we did yesterday about third graders and a controversial lesson about the Holocaust.
Plus, Bono and Scarlett Johansson. How about that? They're teaming up. That's a hard duo to beat right there. And don't forget about the McDonald's story that we talked about right after birthdays as well. You are not going to want to miss that. Hey, that wraps it up for this Wednesday edition. Get out, enjoy some sunshine. Remember, we do have some elevated fire concerns today, so keep that in the back of your head. And do me a favor, be safe. We'll do this all again tomorrow morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.
Chevy is taking people lots of places this